Let's get the show on the road. It is Saturday night. And what comes to mind as soon as I say that is, do you remember that Wigfield tune? Saturday night dance, I like the way you move, pretty baby. We will not be doing any dancing or any further singing. Well, certainly I won't anyway. You know, feel free, crack on if you want to sing. If it helps you to absorb the information, the inspiration, the transformation we're going to be enjoying this evening, then go ahead. But I mean, you know, if you don't want to do that, just let me know you're here. You know, hit me up in the comments. If you're on the hub, let me know you're hubbing it. Let me know you're my hubby. Yeah, very, very, very warm welcome to you this evening. So, you know, like I said, dealing up this evening's session is going to be a very rewarding one. It's one that I'm really I feel very grateful to be able to share it with you, because there were certainly times when I felt like I may not be able to. So yeah, very, very good. And I'll explain a bit more as we get into the session. So I can see Cam is on the session. Big up, Cam. How did Lisa get on yesterday? Did she sell lots of stuff? Cards are absolutely stunning. Does she do them online? Because she should definitely post up some pictures in the group of the cards so that we can order them. Like my dad, he loves sending postcards, so I'm sure I'd definitely ping him a link and he'd order some up. So yeah, let's get that sorted if we can. In the same way that we support Sinead's music, and we'd love to support Lisa as well. Okay. So we've been doing Saturday. I had a beautiful day, like getting rained on. We went to the beach for someone's birthday, and it was beautiful. We got fully pissed on by the rain, and it was just so nice, so refreshing. I was in a wetsuit, so it helped. You know, it didn't matter that I was getting more wet. Cool. Currently 2 hours into a 10-hour road trip. 10-hour road trip? Jesus. Where are you going? Is that like, could you get like right the way across Australia for 10 hours? Probably not. But that's significantly further than what? Like Brisbane's like 4 hours. That's basically my entire Australian geographic knowledge. I know my granddad, he was born and raised in Perth. So yeah, I've got some Australian ancestry, which I'm becoming more and more fascinated to find out more about. Miranda is on the session. Big up, Miranda. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Seb is in the hub. Seb is my hubby. And that reminds me, I need to share in the group the photo. I've mentioned a number of times Seb's been working on a very exciting prototype. Seb, how's the prototype coming along? Can I plug my laptop into it yet? So let me know. Really exciting. It's really going to be doing some exceptional things. So very excited to share that with you. Hello, Miranda. All right, what are we doing time-wise? Yeah, let's give it a couple of minutes. We'll let a couple more arrive. It's beautiful I'm on this session, because I would normally be really, really well settled into what I call my pasta coma. For some reason, whenever I have pasta, like 15 minutes later, I'm just like, so just had a nice pasta dish that I made, but I do get a pasta coma. So the fact that I'm with you guys means that, in fact, I'm just going to be using all that carbohydrates to fuel my my energy for the session. So very nice. Karen is here. Hello, Karen. Alrighty. We're starting to crack on. We're starting to arrive. Miranda would know better than me, being super clued up on all the health and fitness stuff. If you want to know about diet, health, well-being, Miranda is your lady. Yeah, I probably shouldn't be drinking loads of water as I 20 minutes after eating, but thirsty. So guys, as we kind of got about another minute or so, pop up any, where are you at with money, with finances? What are some questions you'd like answering? How do you feel you are with it? What's your relationship with it? If money was a person, what would your relationship with that person be like? Would it be like husband and wife? Would it be best buddies? Would it be like sworn fucking enemies? What kind of relationship would you have with that person if money was a person? There's a little question to get the cogs whirring. So post up your answers to that. Hello, Karen, and then we'll get started very shortly. Okay. Ah, nice. So Miranda's doing a daily money management. Good. It's an outstanding habit to have. And I'm going to tell you just how much that habit might be worth. Heading to Brisbane and then 6 hours more. Jesus, that's a fair drive. Lisa, get your cards online so that people can buy them online. That's my official, like, normally I'm nicey. That's a motherfucking order. I'm going to what's my language this session? Sorry, guys. Caitlin and your sister, you guys did not hear any of the things that just came out of my mouth. So Cam and Lisa are driving with their 2 daughters, and I've just sworn like loads. So forgive me. There will be no more swear words this evening. But Lisa, get your stuff online so people can buy it. My dad, I'm going to make sure he does. So Karen was having this thought today. So yeah, crack on. What if money was a person? What would your relationship with that person be like? Mate, it's a really fascinating one to think about, and it's really freaking important as well. Oh, there we go. Just clearing out some of that pasta. Alrighty. Let us do this. Let's do this. So, this evening's session, I've entitled it the Financial Fulfillment Formula. And that sounds pretty freaking grand and like, but in truth, whilst this is definitely still a part of my journey, a part of my learning. And yet, I share what I'm about to share with you because, I feel like I've made massive strides certainly in the last year, 18 months around money. Sometimes it's been pretty brutal, but really having to kind of take on board and actually kind of get to grips with what is my relationship with money, and what do I now know? What have I been implementing? What do I need to implement more that I feel will serve you guys? And again, this is a co-created journey, so you guys may have some things as well to put into the mix as well, and I really welcome that. Whether you're watching this on recording or live, definitely let us know what's been working for you as well. Okay, let me just see some of these comments. Seb's Kids and Workshop Space is going to get it all connected up and give it a test tomorrow. Very exciting. Tomorrow is test day for the prototype. Let us hope it does not go the same route as the SpaceX Facebook satellite, which basically just blew up on test. And I think there was some hilarious fake text conversations going around between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. Definitely worth checking out if you get a chance and want some humor. Michelle is here. Hello, Michelle. So let's do this. Why is this session so important? This financial fulfillment formula session so important? Because we have gathered under the banner of this creative uprising movement to go on this creative ignition journey because we know that there is a more beautiful world possible. That as a species, the human race massively needs to start telling and living a better story. And here's the thing, guys, cliches are cliches for a reason. So when people say money makes the world go round, it does. You can also make some strong arguments that murder makes the world go round, because basically when the people who've got the money, if they can't do what they want to do, then they just start murdering people. But we won't worry about that for this session. We'll just say that, listen, if money does make the world go round, and it's not everything, but it certainly helps to allow you to eat, etc. So yeah, money is this session is so important because if we are going to change this human story, to tell a better story, we have got to change our story around money. We've got to change our story around money. And so I'm just seeing some new comments come in, so let me go into that. That's the foundation of why this session is. I'm passionate about it because I believe it's such a core piece of how we create a better world. One of my peers is basically being really bullshit. I'm basically really overstepping a boundary. Okay. Karen, I can't see any question there. All I can see is a statement so far. What do we think? Karen, would this work as an individual post where we could all post up afterwards? Because with the Facebook delay, I may miss some bits and things which I'd like to take part in. So, Karen, would you be able to post that fully up into a post in the group, and then also more than just the people who are on this call could then give you feedback as well. And obviously, the more perspectives you get on things, the more powerful the answer might be. So does that work? Let me know if that works. And Michelle's saying hello. Okay, cool. I don't even know what it says. It says conversation starter. 10 comments so far. I don't even know what that means. My knowledge of Facebook Live, clearly very extensive. Okay, so cool. How do we change our story around money then? How do we change our story around money as a species? Well, what I want to do this evening in the first part of the session is to make the case, which I'm sure you've heard before. It's not rocket science, but it's to make the case using some really cutting-edge scientific data that the most powerful way that we as a species can transform our story around money is for each of us as individuals to transform our personal stories around money. Okay, so what I want to speak about is crystals. So there were some tests being done on these very rare types of crystals that were a group of scientists in different labs around the world were trying to grow. And these very rare crystals, and they have to be grown in specific conditions in a laboratory. And various teams of scientists around the world were trying to grow these crystals. And they found that they were just, they'd be having very, very little success. And then they noticed something very, very interesting happening, which was that as soon as one of the labs successfully managed to grow one of the crystals, literally within the same week, all the other labs, the crystals would start growing in those labs as well. And they're like, what is going on here? What is going on? And this was replicated, not just for kind of one crystal type, but for a number of crystal types. It was, it's a bit as if there was kind of nothing happening, and then suddenly, as soon as one lab got it, all of the labs got it, even though they were not connected in any physical way, except perhaps, with a phone line where they could call up and go, hey, the crystal's grown. So what was going on here? And a scientist, researcher by the name of Rupert Sheldrake, who some of you may know, some of you, if you don't, I really recommend his TED Talk, which was censored, which should tell you everything you need to know, considering a platform like TED, whose apparently mission statement is ideas worth sharing. If they censored his talk, well, that tells you it's challenging the mainstream and therefore needs to be considered, right? So he's done a fantastic TED Talk called the Science Delusion, and he kind of maps out 10 things that orthodox science believes it's got locked down, and actually the cutting edge truth is looking like very different to that. Okay, so what was going on with these crystals? Well, Rupert Sheldrake, working again alongside information around, you might have heard of the 100th monkey syndrome, which is the idea that on separate islands, I can't even remember where, maybe I want to say like Indonesia somewhere, maybe on like these separate, fairly remote islands, a group of scientists would observe monkeys. And they'd be observing, like they'd have a kind of team, one team on one island, one team on another island. And they'd be observing the same species of monkey on these two islands. And again, what they found was that once a certain kind of critical mass of monkeys on one of the islands began using a tool to get food. I think in this case, it was like using a stick to poke into an ant's nest and get out the ants, right? Well, once they noticed that once like 5 or 6 monkeys on this one island started doing that, on the other island, where obviously no interaction between the two sets of monkeys because there's a sea in the middle. Monkeys don't swim very well. What they noticed as their scientific team was the other monkeys on the other island independently began doing this same tool, making use of these same tools with no previous kind of practice or anything. They just one day were like, here's the stick, let me jab the ants. Okay. So what was going on with these crystals and with these monkeys? Okay. You're like, Jesus, what's this got to do? Sorry, language. What has this got to do with financial fulfillment formula? Well, what it suggests is that actually the very reason why the way we can transform the collective story around money on this planet is to do our own work, to transform our own story, is because of what was going on with these crystals and these monkeys. Rupert Sheldrake, the Cambridge scientist, I think he's also worked at Harvard, he posited a theory called morphic fields, which suggests that everything has an underlying energy blueprint. So there is an energy blueprint for an oak leaf, which each time an oak leaf grows on a tree, it grows according to this morphic field blueprint, okay? And therefore, with the monkeys, what was happening was, once the morphic field of monkey intelligence had a sufficient degree of stick usage, all the other monkeys who were part of that species were then able to tap into that same expanded intelligence. And with the crystals, once the morphic field of the crystals had actually worked out how to grow the crystal in one lab, well, that information was available to the crystals in all the other labs to draw upon and then to grow from, okay? So what this means for us and our finances is that if we can transform our story around money, we contribute our own little bit of energy and intelligence to the morphic field of humanity with money, right? So the human story of money has its own morphic field. At the moment, you know, you could say it's pretty messed up, right? There's a lot of scarcity, a lot of fear. But when we are able to transform our story, we add our little bit of love about being able to kind of interact with, experience money in a more abundant, powerful, loving way. And so with a formula I'm going to break down for you, I believe it's a really strong foundation to help us start moving in that direction. Now, you may already be well kind of immersed in a new story with money. But I shared this session because it was a real challenge for me. And I kind of have a judgment, and it's been borne out with some evidence that a lot of kind of creative people, and by creative, I mean artistic, they have challenges around valuing themselves and therefore asking for the right amount of money for what they deserve. So I hope that foundation kind of, that little foundation bit of information around the morphic fields is interesting and fascinating, and you can see how it ties together with from the individual right up to the collective, okay? The individual genuinely can empower the collective because of this emerging science of morphic fields, okay? So what is the financial freedom formula? There are four elements. They all begin with F, and if you have got a piece of paper, something to write with, I suggest you note them down now. And the invitation is simply going to be, from a practical perspective, as we go through, just to note down one thing, just to start with, one thing you could do in each of the four areas, okay? I'm going to have a sip of water. Cam, thank you for giving me permission to swear. I'm just going to check some of these comments as well. All right, okay, let me have a look at some of these. Cool. Karen, so thank you for giving us that clarity. Definitely, I think, you know, collectively as a group, let's give you some thoughts on this. And I want to be able to give you some kind of focused thoughts when I'm not trying to deliver a session. So I'll definitely answer after the session. Cam, I'm guessing our personal stories around money are embedded in the way we grew up. Oh, yes. So really, 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 I love this group. I love these sessions because actually you've reminded me of the thing that I really wanted to share about. And, you know, my journey with money hasn't been the easiest, although I haven't had the hardest life with money. My granddad was an Australian guy, came to the UK, ultimately ended up owning a very famous hotel that he sold for a lot of money. I was therefore able to get the best education money could buy. We lived in a fairly nice house. But my parents had a story around money, which was if you had a lot of money, then you know, I remember just asking, say they were part of this thing called Network for Social Change, which was this amazing thing, amazing group of people who, if they, you know, felt like they were well off, would gather together and give money to positive social projects. Amazing, right? But the message I got from them when I asked them about this at an early age was, like, they said, oh, well, some people who've got too much money, they feel like they should give some of it away. So I basically got the message that there was something wrong with having a lot of money. And it's taken me literally until, 18 months, 2 years ago to realize that story really wasn't serving me, but also to realize how deeply embedded it was. So that's definitely an invitation, is after this session, when you've got some time, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, have some thought, what are some of the stories you have around money that maybe haven't served you? You're at this point, and actually the beliefs you have around money are not your beliefs. They're someone else's beliefs that you've borrowed, believing they were the right beliefs to have. Okay. And I love my parents. This isn't to judge anybody, but it's just to say, wow, I was like, and what happened as a result, what happened was when I did get some money, I gave it all away very, very quickly. And therefore, fairly swiftly found myself in a position where I needed to ask family and friends for money. And that's no good to anyone. Okay. So yeah, really, invite you to have consider what's been the formative stories around money that are still influencing you. Now, maybe you're very positive ones, but certainly for me, I received some messages that money, too much money wasn't a good thing. And particularly because my parents, I think, didn't actually, they hadn't got a strong foundation in financial planning and money management. And therefore the money that they did have, whilst they put some of it to very good projects, some of it wasn't hugely well used either. So yeah. Okay, so Karen's story around money changed after her mum died. Okay. I'll spell this one. Wasn't really good. Okay, cool. Okay. And here's the thing, very true. For me, having two small children, you better make damn sure that's changed my story around money a bit as well. It's suddenly there's suddenly any of the emotional stuff I might have had around making that 16th call like we spoke about, being persistent in trying to kind of get the money I needed. Suddenly all that emotional stuff, I was like, I've just got to get this done. So, Karen, thank you for sharing that as well, because, it really proves that it doesn't necessarily just need to be our formative stories, like early in life. It can be, at any time in our life, can really have an impact on us. Cool. So let us get into the financial freedom formula. There are 4 areas, as I was saying. So they are, I'm going to break them down kind of in a bit more detail, but they are friendship, fractions, food, and future. Those are the 4 F's of the financial fulfillment formula. Friendship, fractions, food, and future. Okay, so let me go into a little more detail. Now, we begin with friendship. And it's no coincidence, I asked you at the start of the session, if money was a human being, what kind of relationship would you have with that person? And the invitation really is to treat money as a friend. And I'm going to kind of dig into, there's a couple of kind of little things I want you to take from that. Okay. Certainly I didn't used to do that. I'd push money away, be like, no, you're not a good thing. Especially if I have too much of you, you're not a good thing. It's like, if you were a person, would you want to spend time with someone who was constantly doing this to you? No. Well, money didn't want to spend time with me as a result, So really the invitation is to treat money as a friend. Yes, there's some fucked up stuff that happens as a result of money in the world, but you're not going to do that with your money. So why would you not treat money as a friend? Because it's going to allow you to make a massive impact in the world and to live the joy that you deserve to live. Okay. So that is the invitation, to treat money as a friend. And there's a couple of specific things around that. What do you do for friends? What do you do for friends? Well, one thing that I try and do for my friends is to know what they need, to know what they like, to know what makes them smile. Okay, so what do we mean by this? How do we extend that metaphor? Well, certainly for friends, you'd call them up, you'd check on them, you say, hey, how you doing? How you getting on? Right? Well, so knowing a friend's needs, knowing what they like, checking on how they are. What are we talking about here if that friend is money? We're talking about budgeting, okay? We're talking about making a budget. And sounds super simple. Until a couple of years ago, I just didn't do it. As soon as my wife and I started doing it, we saved about £400 a month straight away. And the power of budgeting. Let me ask you this, right? If I said that I've got, let's use this for a very bad example. Here is £1,500, £1,500. And to get this £1,500, all you'd have to do is to do half an hour of non-physical, not massively difficult work every month. That's it. Every month, just half an hour's work. Like, who would be willing to do that work, right? £1,500 for half an hour's work a month, of course, right? That is the power of budgeting. Research has shown that the average UK couple, now Cam, I'm sure it's probably very similar in Australia, we're both Western nations. The average UK couple, if they spent, or family I think it is, the average UK family, if they spent just half an hour a month budgeting, in a year, they'd save £1,500, okay? So that is the power of budgeting. And I definitely used to stick my head in the sand. And I love how being able to kind of have a budget and understand what are my monthly expenses. At the moment, my monthly expenses are around £2,000 a month, okay? So I know every month, that's what I'm going to be hitting as a bare minimum. And I know if I've got that, I'm cool, okay? And that is so empowering to have that knowledge. So if you currently don't do any budgeting, don't check in with your finances, kind of just hope it will be okay, I'd really invite you to treat money as a friend. And one of the best ways to do that is to start creating a budget and really, you know, getting geeky, like get fascinated, have some fun, playing games of getting to know your finances, okay? So that is friendship. That's what we mean by friendship. Make friends with money. Welcome money into your life as well. That's another really kind of key element of the friendship, okay? I'm gonna leave fraction until last because it's a really important one around how you value yourself, okay? So the four are friendship, fractions, food, and future. So let's look at food, okay? And it leads directly on from budgeting, okay? How much do you actually need to nourish mind, body, heart, and soul? That's what we talk about when we talk about food. Nourishing your mind, body, heart, and soul. And this actually refers to, some of you may have seen in my book if you read it, the idea that having loads of wealth and loads of possessions doesn't make us happier. You know, you would expect that, you know, more wealth and possessions, more money, that happiness is just going to kind of go straight up in a straight line. It doesn't work like that. It's actually a bell curve. What that means is if we've got no money and like none of the things that we require to live, we're not very happy. And then it goes up and then it reaches the kind of peak. And then once we start having more than we need, and like so that we've got to kind of worry about insurance and being robbed and all that sort of stuff, our happiness, we start to become a slave to our affluence and to our possessions. There's a great book called Affluenza, which I haven't read, but people have raved about it, about this very point. Another one called Your Money or Your Life by Vicky Robin. Really great book about the balance between having enough. And what the research has shown is that when we have enough, actually we have more than enough, because we have enough money to facilitate the things that money can't buy, which is, you know, being able to go for a coffee with your mates and have that human connection, to look someone in the eyes, get a dose of oxytocin, which is what happens when we meet face to face, okay? You can't go to the shops and buy the appropriate dose of oxytocin that's going to make you feel great, but you can get that if you can buy a coffee and share it with your friend face to face. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's what we mean by food, is having enough, knowing what your enough is, and now you see how it links into budgeting, to nourish mind, body, heart, and soul. And that's going to be different for everyone. You know, my enough would definitely include having a surfboard. For some people, they're like, I've got no interest in going anywhere near the sea. But they might be like, my enough would include having a model railway. Okay, whatever it is for you that nourishes mind, body, heart, and soul, that is your food. So make that your kind of, that's your priority, is to make sure you've got that food amount, whatever it is for you, taken care of. Okay, or a plan to start taking care of it. Okay, so friendship, food, and future. Future, there's a couple of things I want to kind of really stress on this, which is, though the people who are wealthiest, and you know, one of the great examples of this is Warren Buffett. You know, think what you like about him. He's super wealthy and has made some very, very sound financial planning decisions. And the reason for that is he thinks long term. Okay, he thinks long term. And there's a reason why China is just taking over the world as well, because China has a very, very long-term planning strategy. Whereas in the West, we typically think very short-term. It's all about the quarterly results. I mean, how insane is it that we plan these massive companies and their decisions based on the profit margin for 3 months? That, I mean, if ever there was the epitome of idiocy of the old story, it is in quarterly profit reports, okay? And the decisions that get made on their behalf, okay? So to really kind of start to bring financial fulfillment and, you know, a sense of possibility and power, start to think long term about your future. Plan in decades, not days. Decades, not days. That's the phrase I want you to kind of take away with you. Plan in decades, not days. So, Fan and I, we have a dream to have a place where we can welcome others and run courses like Creative Ignition over the course of, say, 5 days, where we got beautiful woodlands, beautiful nature, like a natural swimming pool, a games room, a library, a dance studio, a sauna. We've drawn it all out, and we know that may take a decade to happen. So every decision we make financially in terms of what businesses are we going to build, who are we going to work with, what are we going to focus on, is made with that 10-year plan and then some in mind. Okay, rather than going, shit, how are we going to get enough money for the end of this month, sort of thing. Whilst that's an important consideration, our overall picture is always defined by planning in decades, not days. Okay, and the other element of that kind of long-term planning of the future is diversity. So diversifying your income streams, your investments, your revenues, if you can. So at the moment, Fan and I are working on a sports investment fund. We're also, of course, working on bringing this Creative Ignition journey to a wider world so that it can fund the Creative Ignition movement, which ultimately will be part of an amazing kind of play-based revolution. Okay. Also working down here in Cornwall with Harry, who you've seen on some of the sessions, around building confidence, both for kind of sportsmen and ex-sportsmen and for young people in education. There's a lot of kind of funding available down here, so we're going to be doing that. And then also looking at opportunities with people like Cam in Australia to start helping him build his businesses. People like Seb with their businesses. Okay, so what that means is there's a diversity of things that I'm focusing on, but there's not too many, and they are all interconnected. They are all connected to helping me help others to tell a better story for human beings on this planet. Okay, so I think that's the invitation around diversifying, is ensuring that you've got some diverse income streams which all interlink. And the key word there is ecosystem. Ecosystem. Have you got an ecosystem of different products, businesses, offerings, services that have sufficient interconnection that they can fuel each other? Okay, so there we have it: friendship, food, and the future. And I hope, is this making sense? Very, very simple. I'm sure you've heard a lot of this before, but I hope that in the idea of you've got 4 things to focus on, it makes it a bit more manageable. You go, right, how am I making friends with money this month, this year? What's my food around money? What do I need to nourish mind, body, heart, and soul? And what's my future? What's my decade plan? What's my 50-year plan? So that actually you start to have a way to build a coherent picture around finances. And don't worry, Michelle, I've not forgotten fractions. Okay. So of course the big question is, well, how am I going to value myself? How do I actually get paid for doing what I love? Okay. Now, I hope that through some of the sessions we've had so far, and some of those that have come, you've got some ideas around what you could offer and how you could offer it. But of course, you're going to need to get paid for that. All right. And here is a very simple formula that literally for me changed how I approach the whole sales thing. Okay. And it's fractions, because it is a fraction is how you're going to decide what your pricing should be. Okay. And the figure to use is 10%. 10%. So what I invite you to do, and this isn't something that I've just made up. There are many, many people who are, really big in the world of serving others, educating, business, who use this same formula. One of my mentors, a guy called Dylan, who I probably mentioned, really strong on this as well. So the idea being, whatever you create, it should be so valuable that you can still make a decent living by charging 10% of its actual worth. So, for example, this Creative Ignition journey, absolutely no doubt in my heart, in my mind, that I'm offering you guys, those of you who kind of consistently stick through the program, at least £1,000 worth of value, at least £1,000 worth of value. And that's even if you just added up my time that I've spent preparing the sessions and delivering the sessions at a decent hourly rate of about £25 to £30 an hour. Then we're well in excess of £1,200, £1,300. So therefore, I've got no problem at all When I share this wider with the world, once I've spent even more time polishing it up, tweaking it, refining it, recording it professionally, charging about £150 for it. I think I'll probably charge £148 when I share it, the kind of finished, polished product with the wider world. So that, and it's really informed, how I approach things. I also know, for example, I now understand why I feel so comfortable charging what I do for my personalized poems. Because, say you're a husband or a wife and you want to buy a piece of jewelry for your partner. Well, that might cost you, that could cost you easily £1,500 if you bought a decent piece of jewelry. And that's going to last a lifetime. Now, I know, because I've seen and I've had the feedback, that my poems sometimes have an even greater impact than a stunning piece of jewelry. So the invitation here is to consider, don't worry about, don't even worry about how much is my thing worth at this point. You will need to think about that. The first thing to consider as you try and work out what's your fractions, what's the 10% price rule you're going to use, what is the result you are delivering? What is the result you're delivering? So for me, here, like on this creative ignition journey, if I share 2 or 3 things that will fundamentally change how you go about sharing your gift in the world, meaning that you will be able to, bring in tens of thousands of pounds extra over the course of your lifetime, well, easily it's been worth, the value of it is easily worth, £1,500 and then some, right? Because you've gone on to be able to make so much more and do it joyfully. And will that happen for everyone? No, I ideally hope so. It may not. Will it happen for some? Absolutely. I've got no doubt. I've seen the way, people like Cam are already like just cracking on, doing amazing stuff. I've seen some of the way things have landed with you guys. So I know that we are lighting some powerful fuses here, and there's going to be some stunning fireworks to come. Okay. So think about the result you are creating when you want to know what is the value of the thing I'm offering. So it goes, here's how the process goes. You start with the result, and then you ask, well, what is that result worth over the course of a lifetime? That then gives you your figure. From that figure, you then take the 10%, okay? You then take the 10%. Okay, so Lisa, and here's the thing, Lisa, that's, a really big thing is why I've said, the more, because your cards, it's kind of, as I understand it, it's quite a labor-intensive thing, right? So guys, for those of you watching, Cam's wife Lisa has just popped up about pricing. She makes these amazing handmade cards, and the challenge is around pricing for her. Okay, so Lisa, there's 2 things that I'd invite you to consider, which is one is economies of scale. So can you, over a course of a period of time, get enough of a little pot that you could get your most popular cards? Now, I don't know, maybe they're all individual bespoke ones, in which case, if you want to be able to kind of take things to the next level, I would suggest having some that you, like maybe a run of 5 specific designs that you could mass print and therefore sell cheaper way out there. What that will then allow you to do is, for people who love your cards, you could then offer a very high value one as a bespoke personal thing to that person. So you can say, hey, if you love these cards, here you can get some of my most popular ones as a print, as a limited edition print, and it's going to be worth this much. And PayPal, click the link now, whatever, right? If you've enjoyed it and you love those, I also make bespoke cards just for you. So here's how the process works. You send me everything you want your card to include, and I use my artistic talent to create something that is once in a lifetime, never going to be seen again. And I send you the cards, and I also send you a high resolution image so you can get it printed up as a large scale canvas on your wall if you'd like as well. So Lisa, can you see how by starting to expand the range of products you've got, and if Cam hasn't already shared it, definitely check out the product pyramid, because I think you'll really get some joy out of that. How that might allow you to play with this 10% rule in different ways to make sure you're bringing in what you need to. Okay, so let me know if that little example that's live, I'm just kind of literally off the top of my head, let me know if that has been useful. So yeah, what's your result going to be worth? From that result, then you can pick a value that is viable, that is realistic, and then from that value, you then decide your 10% price. Okay, so guys, we're heading into the lock-in time. The invitation is just to make a note of one thing you can do in each of the 4 areas. What's one thing you can do to make friends with money more? What's one thing you can do to understand what your enough is around nourishing your mind, body, heart, and soul? Okay, so the food aspect. What's one thing you can put into your plan for a decade? What's one way you may be able to you can diversify so that your future is more solid? And what's one way you can use the 10% rule? Now, guys, let me just ask you this, right? If you know, and this is the thing, this is why you've got to know what the result is worth in the long term, so that you can say, this is the value of the thing I'm offering, okay? Because if you know that the value of what you're offering is, say, you know, £1,000, would you have any problem charging £100 for it? And if you say no, then I'd say, what are you talking about? You're offering £1,000 worth of value for £100. That's an incredible deal any day of the week, whether you're on Earth, Mars, Jupiter, okay? So yes, take that on board. Really passionate about this. I want you guys to have an easy way to say, this is what I'm worth. And of course, this is why it's so important you understand your assets, why we are on this journey to map what is the fullness of your garden, what do all your assets look like, so we can work out what your true value is going to be, and therefore you can just ask for 10% of that value, and boom, you're up and running, because you're not going to have a problem saying, hey, let's use Karen as an example. I know based on social value calculators, social value indicators, that what I offer to my patients, the social value of that is, and the impact is well in excess of £10,000 per patient. Therefore, over the course of a year, my 12-month package is £1,000. No problem. They're like, shit, I'm getting £10,000 of the value and impact for my patients for £1,000. I'll take that every day. Okay. And also you can even then play with it. You can use economies of scale where you say, well, look, if it doesn't cost you anymore. So, say, let's use that Karen example. If it doesn't cost Karen anymore what I'll also do is I'll sweeten that deal a bit with a series of videos I've made for each patient, how they can do these techniques for themselves. And listen, when I sell that on my website, it's £100, but each patient gets it for free. There's ways you can use, content that you already have, value, assets that you already have, to make your offerings even more valuable, and therefore make that 10% an even easier sale for you and for the other person to say yes to. Okay. So guys, let me know how this has landed. I really hope that you've taken some value from this. I'm also going to check the hub just to see if Seb's put anything up there. Am I going to check the hub, or have I just lost the hub totally? No, it's there. It's there. Where are we? Oh, there we go. Cool. So yeah, let me know how you're getting on, guys. Cool, Lisa. I'm glad that was valuable. Glad that was helpful. And listen, anything else you want to know, then do give me a shout. No problem at all. From this session, I think Cameron and I need to make a budget and review our superannuation. I don't even know what superannuation is. So this is why it's still a learning journey for me. Cameron says he needs to be more on the ball with his business figures. Absolutely. And it's, listen, guys, also really important message for, like, as we kind of begin to move towards the end of the session. Wherever you are at with money right now, that's okay. It's okay, because the progress you can make in a tiny space of time is absolutely incredible. Remember that 20-hour rule, and Cam's proven it with his girls with the ukulele, right? So listen, all it's going to take you to go from the point where maybe you think, oh, I'm not great with money right now, to a point where you're very, very capable with money. Maybe you're not a freaking investment banker accountant, but you're very, very capable with money, and you know the questions to ask of those people, is a maximum of 20 hours. Okay. Now, every one of us can give that 20 hours, and it's not as scary as you think. And here is the other beautiful thing as well. If you're like, oh, Jesus, this is going to be a massive ball ache, getting these 20 hours in. Here's the thing. The harder we perceive the thing to be, the greater the rewards from taking the small steps to do them, to achieve them. So yesterday we spoke about the power of small steps in terms of building confidence, how you get an asymmetrical reward from all the small achievements. So powerful when the thing you're thinking, oh, this is going to be really tough, and then you do it, or even you do a tiny thing, you're like, hey, fuck, look at me. I'm a fucking hero. I did that. Yes. Let me do the next thing and the next thing. And before you know it, you know, money is something that you've made massive friends with. Okay. So really important message to leave you with. So thanks, Lisa, for sharing that about you guys. Really, really, really appreciate that. Let's check the old hub. Come on, computer, kick in, please. There we are. Any other questions, guys? Any other questions? Let me know how you've been getting on. You know, how did it land? Oh my God. Water is so awesome. Water is so awesome. Okay. Retirement fund. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, here's the thing. There's very few. Michelle, I like making big leaps instead of tiny steps. So how am I going to? Well, that, you know, that is your choice. I would suggest that big leaps are only. Here's the thing. In that case, so Michelle, there's big leaps and then there's humongous leaps. Okay, so if you can start taking a few more small steps, the size of the big leaps you'll be capable of taking will just skyrocket. I think maybe you're being also playful as well. So. Oh, that okay. No. Okay. So, okay, cool. So, Michelle, so let me go with this as well. So let me ask this question. When you're growing, say a garden, right? Could you plant the entire bed of seed in a single day? Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so you could plant the entire bed of seed in a single day. However, you wouldn't put the entire life's worth of water for those seeds on that bed in a single day. You'd water it over time, right? Would you agree with that? So there are some things that need the deep immersion of big leaps, as you just demonstrated with writing a freaking book. However, there are also things that need lots of consistent small bits of action as well. Yeah, here's the thing. You don't eat a week's worth of food at once. Well, certainly I don't. I'm not sure I'd be able to. Okay, so and you know, I welcome Michelle's input as well, because so it makes me wonder in what areas around this model could there also be some big leaps to consider as well. And yes, in that case, big message. Fantastic. Awesome, Michelle, good work. So Lisa, to answer you and Cam's question as well, one of the best superannuation retirement fund things you can do right now is to build some amazing businesses. Because of the landscape that exists. Okay. It used to be the case that if we ever heard of a way of getting rich quick, we were like, stay back, Satan, you know, like it's some shady, dodgy thing, right? Pyramid scheme, whatever. Okay. Now, I don't know the exact timings, but it's something like 4 years, 3 or 4 years, is what it took for Instagram to go from idea to $1 billion sale, right? Or 1 billion plus sale, right? Now, if you divide, what's 350? So if you divide about 1,400 days, which is what like 4 years is, if you divide 1 billion by 1,400, that's a shatload of cash every single day. So by any stretch of the imagination, it has never been more possible to get rich quick. Never been more possible to get rich quick. And you know, I know that some of the things that Cam is working on, alone, before we've even bought in how you could scale with your cards, okay? Because your cards, rather than just having a local audience in Harvey Bay and Bundaberg, little stalls, you have got customers who are waiting for you in Bolivia. You've got customers who are waiting for you in Greenland, in Liechtenstein, okay? So suddenly the scale and scope of what you are capable of achieving has just gone absolutely ballistic. So one of the best retirement fund plans you can have is build some amazing businesses that make amazing impact in the world. Because if you do that, the chances of them going stratospheric is very, very high because of the landscape we now live in. and therefore, you'll have more than enough to stash away once those kind of things start to scale. Okay, so yeah, thank you, Michelle, because that is definitely one way you can use Michelle's idea of bringing in the huge leaps as well. So by any stretch, Instagram made a giant leap, right? But over the course of that 4 years, they probably did lots of things consistently small. They were kind of watering their garden regularly, and then suddenly, okay. So I hope that helps. Thank you, Michelle, for that input as well. And here's the thing, right now, growing food, gardening, things that you're working on. That's cool. Wherever you're at right now is cool, because tomorrow you can take a tiny step to get a little bit better. And that's the mastery journey. That is the mastery journey in all of this. Okay, cool, guys. Any further questions? I'm going to head off. One final message. Michelle, you're going to love this as well. When it comes to kind of making friends with money, it is important to sweat the small stuff. It is important to sweat the small stuff because it's how you develop a habit of really knowing where you're at with your money. So here is a very clear example of this. So these are, today is my cheat day. I've done my 15 minutes of exercise. I went bodyboarding, super knackered, didn't catch many waves, got bashed around a lot, but it was great. Today's my cheat day, which means I get to eat what I want. And so in about half an hour's time, I'll be watching Match of the Day with these two babies. Now, there's something special about these. I paid a total of £2 for this. Right next to these on the same shelf, same level of shelf, was another bigger bag of Maltesers, priced at £2.19. Okay, now that bag of Maltesers had 103 grams of Maltesers in that bigger bag. Each of these bags has 75 grams of Maltesers in. So by sweating the small stuff, I was able to save 19p. I was able to save 19p and get an extra 47 grams of Maltesers. Okay, so when it comes to making friends with money, aka budgeting, do sweat the small stuff because life will be a bit sweeter, and you'll also be developing a habit that will serve you in so many ways. Cool. Love it. So fantastic, guys. Go really well. Tomorrow, where's my tomorrow sheets? Mate, we are going to have an awesome session tomorrow. If you have some blocks around money, around your value, etc., we are going to get to the core of that, and we're going to remove the blockages, the obstacles. Okay, and it's one of the most beautiful processes I've ever come across. I'm going to recommend you read a book tomorrow, which I believe has the capacity to change our planet for the better. So really looking forward to tomorrow's session. And just seen another thing I wanted to share with you as well. I'll do that tomorrow because actually it's going to help give us some faith as well. So yes, we got an awesome session tomorrow. Things are just getting more and more awesome. Michelle's written a book in a day, got a new publishing client. Shit's going crazy. And Cam, Lisa, have an amazing rest of your journey. Karen, I'm glad I've given you a chuckle. Do post up your challenge, your issue that you want some feedback on so we can all give that to you as a group. Seb, test that prototype well. And brothers and sisters, I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.